Good evening. Welcome, everybody. I'm Apostle Jasmine. I'm here with my husband, Senior Apostle Lionel Blair, Senior Dr. Lionel Blair, and we want to welcome you tonight on our discussion for the Road to the Apostolic Intensive. We're excited for everybody that is joining us tonight. For those of you that have not heard, I definitely want to put the information up so you can be in the loop regarding the Apostolic Intensive that we
Yes,
are having. The Apostolic Intensive is going to be Saturday, September the 28th, 2024, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. We're going to have two powerful, impactful sessions via Zoom. Registration is open now. Registration can be done at tickets.icamglobal.com. So during this time, we've created this training for apostles, for the teams of apostles, for emerging apostles, apostles that are rediscovering their mandate, apostles that are going back to the drawing board, and some apostles who have been fine, but you're looking to launch out and to really expand the mandate and expand what you've been doing and take it to the next level. And there's a various array of reasons why that can be done and should be done. And so tonight we're going to talk about what type of apostle am I? I've been
right,
seeing this topic go around social media, and I think it is a great topic to discuss in terms of the apostolic intensive and how it can be beneficial for apostles and emerging apostles and those that serve on teams alongside apostles that are navigating this specific question. So I'm going to pass it to you to get us started. So when people have this question of what type of apostle am I? Or, what kind of apostle am I? How do I navigate, my mandate? What does this mean to you? What do you hear? What do you see spiritually when you hear this question?
well, it deals with specifications.
Mm-hmm.
It deals with specifications because
Mm-hmm.
there could be more than one type of anything.
Right, right.
So when God calls an official, especially when you're an apostle or a prophet, but in this case we're talking about apostles.
Yes.
Okay, that is when you even do a study on it, you see how diverse the ministry expression is.
Right.
It's diverse in nature. So when it comes to the apostle, you got to know that, there's no one cookie cutter example
Yes.
of what an apostle is. And the reason why a lot of apostles fail in the execution of their mandate or who they're called to be because they don't know what their mandate is.
Mm-hmm.
They just use Paul's model as an example of what an apostle is.
Mm-hmm.
When really in reality, Paul was not the only New Testament apostle. He was just
Mm-hmm.
the most famous one,
Right.
but he was not the only example of what a New Testament apostle is. So when it comes to discovering your apostolic mandate, you cannot compare yourself to the most famous apostle there is
That's good.
because your model may come from one of the less famous ones.
Mm-hmm.
So what we have today is we have a lot of apostles that claim or compare themselves to Paul.
Mm-hmm.
When Paul, as great as he is and as great as he was not the only apostle in the New Testament.
That's true.
And then you have Old Testament types and shadows because everything we have in the New Testament, okay, they had an Old Testament type and shadow,
Mm-hmm.
especially when it comes to apostolic ministry. So you see a lot of the patriarchs of old, a lot of the judges and the kings of old, a lot of them, if you study their function, they had an apostolic edge to their ministry. Even though they was called prophets, they were called kings and judges and things like that. You see the example of apostleship type ministry there. So when it comes to apostolic ministry, you're taking the whole Bible, right? You're taking the
Mm-hmm.
entire Bible and you're making apostolic ministry applicable to the whole Bible, not just the New Testament.
Mm-hmm.
right?
That's
So when you
good.
look at the apostleship from the entire Bible,
Right.
you begin to really see the diversity of this administration and
Hmm.
ministry.
Amen. I think that's a good assessment. And what you said about the diversity, I believe, is key. I think many people are tripped up, maybe
Yeah.
confused, maybe a little bit off course because of the diversity. For a long
Yes.
time, now let's look at the trends now. For a long time, at least in my time, I'm not an old person, but in my time, for a long time, everything the model, the conception was, hey, everything has to be one way. So, about 7 or 8 years ago, now we begin to see more teaching in the apostolic prophetic movement of, okay, you can have different kinds, there's diversity of apostles. But now we've embraced so much diversity that I believe some people are confused.
Yeah.
And I think the important question for a lot of you immersion apostles or even established apostles, instead of asking or trying to figure out how many types there are, what kind there are, focus more on your mandate. I don't think it's necessary for you to fit a certain type because, again, as God gives revelation, we see in part, we know in part, we
Yeah.
prophesy in part. Some may have a part of some of the types of apostles, another one may have another part.
That's
But I
right.
think it's less important that we focus on identifying all of the types. Now, God bless us when we get to that place in unity and understanding in the body. But right now, it's more important that you more so identify what applies to you.
Right.
And if it happens to fit some of the types that have been defined in teaching, then that's a blessing. Amen. But if it does not fit those types, what's important is that you actually understand you. You understand the mandate God has given you. You understand the apostolic function God has given you. You
That's right.
understand what that administration is supposed to look like in real time. You understand and have something to measure by if you are being successful or unsuccessful in that mandate, or
That's
if you
right.
need to realign with that mandate, or if you even need to abort a mission and then go back and re strategize and then launch back out into that mandate. It's less important that you're able to keep up with the jargon of the apostolic and prophetic movement, but it's more important that you have an understanding of what God has called you to and to be able to accurately assess if you're actually doing that very thing.
That's right.
I believe that with this, there's a lot of ambiguity that surrounds apostolic mandate and apostolic function because of the diversing of teachings that are out here.
Hmm.
And what happens with this sometimes is also a sign of premature affirmation in some cases, because it is my opinion that if someone has affirmed you as an apostle, they've affirmed this call on your life, they've laid hands on you, assuming there was a prophetic presbytery present, you should not have walked away confused or
That's
without
right.
any
That is
information
right.
for what you should be carrying out.
That is right.
So, in my opinion, it could either be a premature affirmation or maybe an affirmation without what we call marching orders or what we call deployment instructions. Some
Yeah.
sort of information that will give you guidance and point you in the right direction of where you are in this season
Yeah.
of your apostolic mandate.
Yes,
Because I
indeed.
think it's important to point out that there are seasons. So, the fullness of your mandate may be this. But in the beginning, God may have you on part A for 3 or 4 or 5 years, and then he might have you on part B for 6 or 7 years. It takes a length of time to walk out the totality of an apostolic mandate. And I think that's the other thing that's often not talked about. So we have emerging apostles or newly merged apostles are in a space 4 and 5 years down the line. They're like, well, man, I'm failing, not understanding that you have maybe a 20-year mandate you have to walk out. You can't measure the full success in year 5.
That's right.
Anything you want to say on that?
When it comes to the unfolding of a mandate,
Mm-hmm.
um, You got to understand, you got to bear the fruits of that.
Yes, you do.
And in order to bear fruit, there first must be seed time and then harvest.
That's good.
So you cannot expect to bear fruit when it's during seed time.
Mm-hmm.
And time that you're plowing and planting, that's not the time you're going to see fruit. But a lot of apostles get frustrated because, in the time of plowing and planting, they don't see no fruit. Of course, you're not going to see no fruit yet. Okay, that's the time you're doing all the hard work, right? And then when God sends rain on a thing, then that's when you're going to see increase.
That's good.
So navigating seasons as it pertains to mandates are important too,
That's
right?
good.
That's important too. You got to work your mandate. You got to work
Yes.
the mandate that you have,
Right.
because there's a time and season, where God may shift you to another. Okay, but you got to work the one you got first.
Right.
And see, here's the thing about apostles.
Mm-hmm.
God, sometimes I feel like God take us through the ringer sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it ain't fair. You know, sometimes it's just not, sometimes it don't seem fair. Sometimes I'll be telling God, I'll be like, Lord, this don't seem fair, blah, 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 blah. And
Mm-hmm.
then, of course, the Lord tells me, well, welcome to my world. You identify with my sufferings, so this is your portion. In other words, he tell me, get over it, right? I don't get a lot of sympathy from the Lord when
Mm-hmm.
it comes to my office in his administration. So
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to the ministry of an apostle, you got to recognize that you have to work the mandate that you have.
Right.
And then once God feels like you're completed in that thing, okay, then he'll train you in something else.
Yes.
Because you're going to always have a primary and a secondary.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, that's
We'll
good.
talk more about that during the workshop. Just hold on to that right
Yeah.
there. So if you
Yes,
want to learn
indeed.
more about your primary and your secondary, you definitely need to register. Now, I
Yes.
want to move on to this next piece about requiring additional training and apprenticeship. That's
Yeah.
important, I think, for a lot of emerging apostles to understand. Your training and development as an apostle does not stop at the affirmation. It starts at the
It
affirmation.
starts.
It
That's
starts
it.
at the affirmation. So I believe some apostles who are in a season where they may be in what feels like a wilderness and you're trying to navigate your way and you're trying to find out where you should be doing, what you should be doing. It's very likely you may need some additional apprenticeship because once you've established what type of apostle you are, what mandate and function God has given you, then you need to align yourself with some kind of apostolic covering, oversight, accountability, however it is you use the language and terminology for that. You need to align yourself somewhere with somebody or somebodies that are going to aid you in your development and your apprenticeship. Apprenticeship is like an apostolic on the job training. Somebody needs to be able to measure and critique you in your mandate, in your function, point out your strengths, point out your weaknesses, and then assist you in training and development until those weaknesses now become strengths.
That's right.
And so it's okay that you are not an expert on day one. It's not okay to continue to stay in a place where you are feeling stuck and stagnant and frustrated, but yet you're not aligning yourself for additional training. So, as we talked a few moments ago about affirmation and having, those deployment instructions, those marching orders, even when you're giving that, it is still your responsibility to search out additional training and development. And that's
Yeah.
one of the reasons for this workshop because some apostles just need additional training and development. They need an intensive, they need a time for training and insight and strategy to continue to carry on what they've already been successfully doing. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about that often comes up when people ask the question, what type of apostle am I? Is what they want to do or what one does versus what their actual apostolic mandate is.
Uh oh.
I
Uh
think oftentimes people are excited, right? And we have zeal in ministry. Oh, I want to do this. I've always wanted to do that. I think this would be a great idea. And a lot of times, those things are, in fact, great ideas, and they are a blessing to the body. But we can have a great idea and desire to do something that is a blessing that God simply has not placed within our mandate. Apostle, can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Here's the thing. You adjust to the institution, not the other way around.
Yes, that's good.
So the call dictates what you do. You don't dictate the call.
Mm-hmm.
So when God calls you, let's say as an apostle,
Yes.
okay, and then he begins to reveal the type of mandate you are, that reveals the type of adjustments you have to make.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That was the type of adjustment you have to make. Because
Mm-hmm.
see, when God began to reveal my apostolic mandate, I was, it came with a lot of pain.
Mm-hmm.
It came with a lot. Okay. I've had to adjust to the ups and downs of it, all of that kind of stuff, you know. And at one point in time, I was like, okay, Lord, I don't want this. I don't want this. Listen, let me just go and travel around the country and do healing miracle services. I love that.
Right.
Right. You know, your mandate is not always fun.
That's good.
Come
And
on
I
now, it's
love
not
that.
always fun. But
Yes,
it's the very thing that God has it's your marching orders.
that's right. That's right.
It's part of your marching orders because as you will find out in this workshop, mandate deals with commissioning and marching orders.
Yes, it does.
So most apostles I find they can't even articulate their marching orders
Mm-hmm.
from God. They can't articulate it. And that's because a lot of them have not been properly commissioned. So they
Mm-hmm.
just going around trying to fulfill Paul's mandate.
That's
Most
good. And that,
apostles are running around trying to fulfill Paul's mandate.
good.
Okay, they trying to
Mm-hmm.
plant churches or they trying to be somebody's mom and daddy and they suck miserably at it. Okay, because that may not be what God has called you to do. Scripture outlines several mandates of an apostle. Several. Several. Okay, but everybody's trying to be the one who goes to the mountain and gets the blueprint, right? Or everybody's trying to, and we love to say, well, apostles are spiritual architects. Okay, that's what Paul said. Paul had quite a few mandates, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
every apostle's a spiritual mama daddy. And some of you apostles, you suck at being somebody's mom and daddy.
And that goes into my next point about following models. Following models becomes wrong when the model is not the model that's meant for you.
That's it.
And I believe this is why we really have to get in a still quiet place and really receive some true prophetic presbytery, some true apostolic mentorship and training and insight to determine what model suits us. It is great to say, hey,
That's
I
right.
honor this person. They do the apostolic this way. This is their mandate. This is what they've accomplished. I want to do that. You cannot take on the assignment of somebody else because they're popular and you enjoy their preaching and teaching.
Somebody may be mandated in an area that you're probably just gifted in.
That or may not be gifted in at all, and that is okay. The
Come on.
problem is when we follow people that we enjoy, that we like their ministry, that we like what they're doing for the body. Maybe we like other attributes about their ministry. They've been a blessing to the body. And we say, okay, because I think this person is great, because I think they're doing this and they're doing such an awesome job in their apostolic mandate, I want them and their ministry to be the standard for me. And I believe that's
Huge
where a
mistake.
lot of emerging apostles go left. And
Huge
so when
mistake.
you follow the wrong models and you don't actually follow what God has set for you, what happens is burnout, stagnation, frustrated, loss of time and money. And a lot of times we can lose our morale and desire to even do ministry at all because we're trying to force an apostolic model for someone else's mandate to be our own because we look up to this person or these people instead of clearly finding and defining the mandate that God has for us.
I seen a meme one time. I
Mm-hmm.
saw a meme one time where it was a picture, and then you had a bulb of garlic, and then you had a tangerine slice, and
Yes,
you fit
yes.
it in the garlic. You fit it in that space, and then the meme said something along the lines of, "Just because it fits don't mean it belongs."
That's good. That's good.
So we're trying to make something fit that don't belong. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of us we're fooled by the fact that something fits when it
Mm-hmm.
really do not belong.
Right.
Okay, but we're focused on the fact that, oh, I'm comfortable here. I see myself. I can see myself being comfortable here. I can see myself, fitting in this place
Right.
here, right? So that's the problem we have with the apostolic and prophetic. More specifically, we talk about the apostolic. We see where we can fit, but that don't mean that's where we belong.
Right.
So then next thing you know, when the garlic, when the properties of the garlic and the properties of the tangerine begin to mesh with each other, it causes
Mm-hmm.
a kind of friction.
Yes.
Okay, because
Mm-hmm.
you try to make something belong where it don't fit,
When you're right.
or fit
That's
where it
right.
don't belong.
Mm-hmm. That's good. And I think that speaks to the issue that a lot of people have. And some of you that are watching, that are listening, maybe you're not emerging. Listen, maybe you're 5 years in, 7 years in, 10 years in, 12 years in. Maybe you are in a season of redirection and rediscovery for your mandate. Maybe you're listening to this and you're the one that's identifying, man, you know what? I took that model because I liked it and I tried to apply that to my apostolic ministry, and it was a burnout. It was a fail. It was dead on arrival. Maybe you have gone with certain models and it was successful for a while, but now you're feeling stagnant. You're not sure what direction to going. You know that there's more, but you can't quite identify more. Or you feel like you're hitting a plateau. There is more that you have in your vision. You wrote the vision, you made it plain, and you feel like you're stuck at a level where you just cannot take that vision to the next level. This can also happen when you are implementing the wrong models. And this is why we're encouraging you to sign up, not just for yourself, but for your team
Yeah,
as well, because those that are walking along with you, alongside you, assisting you in the carrying out and the completion of this mandate, it is imperative that they understand what they are to be carrying out.
yeah,
And while, yes, they are on your team, sometimes it takes somebody else saying the same thing a different way for things to click. You have to remember, if you are leading a team, you are training a team, whether this is your congregation, this is your team of elders, maybe for some of you, these are your spiritual sons and daughters. There comes a point in time where your voice becomes familiar, and it takes the voice of another to really articulate to them in a way to grab hold of the mandate that they are actually assisting you. So if you have a assistant pastor, or you have an executive pastor, you have prophets on your team, whoever is on your team at your ministry that is in your leadership, maybe they are assisting you in departments, they are assisting you with your travel. These are the individuals we are highly encouraging you to have them join the workshop as well, so they can have a better understanding of what it actually is that they are helping you accomplish in this mandate.
yeah.
Apostle, you have anything else that you want to share?
I would say this, some people are genuinely called to be apostles, but they're trying
Mm-hmm.
to execute it the wrong way, and that's why they're unsuccessful.
Mm-hmm.
And many of them enter into a season of stagnation and frustration. And then after a while, that's when you get to starting over and over and over and over again. I've
Mm-hmm.
met so many leaders, so many. And this ain't just one. I've met so many
Right. Yes.
apostles and apostolic leaders who got to start over and start over and start over. A lot of y'all trying to launch a church, launch a church, launch a church, start over with your ministry, start over with your ministry. How many times you gonna start over? The
And a
reason why you
lot
got
of
to
that
keep
starting over, Apostle, comes from them following a model that does not fit their personal apostolic mandate. You
that's
keep
it.
starting over with the wrong model because you don't have insight on your mandate. You're trying to fit a model of what you've been told is for apostles instead of finding a specific model for you and the apostolic mandate and function God gave you.
Because some of y'all don't need a church, you need a team. But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
we'll cover more of that in the workshop.
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, I want to put the information here on the screen so that everyone has an opportunity to view it. Amen. Again, the Apostolic Intensive is going to be Saturday, September the 28th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. We are going to have 2 sessions on Zoom. And again, you can register at tickets.icamglobal.com. Again, that's tickets.icamglobal.com. We want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. We look forward to seeing you at the workshop. And if you have any questions, feel free to message our ministry page, ICAM Global, and someone on our staff will be happy to get back with you. God bless you all, and we will see you at the workshop. Bye-bye.